The restaurant was supposed to be closed. The lights were dim, the wine half finished, and yet, two voices could still be heard through the glass. Wendy Osefo's soft laugh and Chris Bassett's low whisper. Outside, a car door slammed. Edward Osefo had arrived. For a moment, everything went silent. The kind of silence that hums before a storm. Then came the sound no one expected. Shattering glass, a chair scraping, and Edward's voice echoing through the night. Raw, furious, broken. "You think I wouldn't find out?" Someone across the street caught it all on their phone. The argument, the confusion, the way Chris stood frozen while Wendy tried to calm Edward down. Within minutes, the footage hit every gossip account online. Had Wendy caught, trended before sunrise. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. This wasn't a Bravo reunion set. This was real life. Unfiltered, unscripted, and unraveling. The same couple who once preached loyalty and power couple goals were now the center of the most explosive scandal of the season. No statements, no denial, just a single phrase screamed into the night. "That's my wife." And from that moment on, nothing was ever the same. But what happened next changed everything. For years, Wendy and Edward Osefo were the couple that Bravo viewers called unshakable. Every episode of The Real Housewives of Potomac that featured them seemed to highlight perfection. The calm husband, the intelligent wife, the polished family. Wendy's fans described her as the professor turned powerhouse, and Edward, always measured, always supportive, was seen as the quiet anchor that grounded her success. Together, they looked untouchable, like a brand built on grace and intellect. At least, that's what the cameras showed. Behind the scenes, things weren't as picture-perfect as the audience believed. Little cracks had started forming long before the night Edward walked into that restaurant. The late-night filming sessions Wendy brushed off as production meetings. The quiet tension on reunion couches when her castmates teased her about being too friendly with certain husbands. And then there was Chris Bassett, Candiace Dillard's husband, the charming chef who'd become a Bravo fan favorite. Chris was everything Wendy's viewers loved. Witty, relatable, a little chaotic but undeniably kind. During group events, he and Wendy often found themselves on the same wavelength. Both were articulate, outspoken, and tired of the drama that surrounded others. Cameras caught them laughing together during breaks, trading jokes, exchanging ideas about podcast projects and charity events. For months, it seemed innocent, until it didn't. The first spark came during a cast dinner that never made it to air. According to a production assistant who later leaked audio, Edward had shown up unexpectedly that night, unannounced, uninvited. When he arrived, he reportedly caught a glimpse of Wendy and Chris sitting close at the bar, talking quietly. Nothing inappropriate, just too comfortable. Witnesses said Edward smiled politely, but didn't say much the rest of the night. Later, one mic caught Wendy's soft voice saying, "He's not happy, I can tell." The footage was cut from the episode, but it didn't disappear. Months later, fragments resurfaced on a fan page that specialized in lost Bravo moments. Then came the podcast clip. During an appearance on a lifestyle podcast, Chris had jokingly called Wendy "my favorite professor," adding with a laugh, "She's the only one who can out-talk me and still make me agree with her." The quote went viral, and fans flooded the comments with teasing. "Chris better chill before Candiace sees this. The chemistry is too real." At first, Wendy brushed it off with a tweet. "Relax, y'all, it's called friendship." But the tone didn't convince everyone. The internet has a way of freezing moments, replaying smiles and eye contact frame by frame, until something innocent starts looking intentional. Still, Wendy and Edward kept the facade intact. Every family photo, every interview, every red carpet appearance screamed unity. She wore designer smiles. He stood beside her like a pillar of quiet strength. But then came the rumor that changed everything. An anonymous Bravo crew member claimed that during filming breaks, Chris and Wendy often stayed behind to go over talking points. No one thought much of it until one day, a producer allegedly walked into the green room and found the two laughing over a phone video. One of those moments that looked innocent until the wrong person saw it. The wrong person was Edward. According to those present, Edward didn't say a word. He simply looked at Wendy, then at Chris, nodded once, and walked away. Later that night, he sent Wendy a single text. "You're playing with the wrong man." It wasn't a threat, it was a warning. But Wendy, ever the professional, told herself it was paranoia. She'd been accused of everything from being too confident to too close to her friends before. This was just another misunderstanding. She kept filming. She kept smiling. But her silence, that subtle, uneasy calm, said more than words ever could. And then came the dinner. A Bravo insider later leaked the location, a private restaurant in Georgetown, closed for the night. Wendy had reportedly told producers she needed a quiet space to discuss a brand collaboration for a joint event with Chris's catering company. Edward, however, had other plans. He'd been tracking her schedule, quietly, methodically. When he saw her car parked outside that restaurant long after midnight, something inside him snapped. According to eyewitnesses, Edward parked his SUV across the street and waited. Inside, Wendy and Chris were seated at the corner table, half-empty wine glasses between them, soft, laughter echoing through the glass. No one else in the restaurant except a single waiter who would later describe the scene as too intimate to be business. Then came the crash. The waiter said he saw Edward stride through the door like a man on fire, his voice carried through the room, controlled at first, then shaking with fury. "You think I wouldn't find out?" The clatter of glass followed, then Wendy's voice, sharp, trying to diffuse. Chris stood frozen, his hand half raised in apology, but Edward's next words were louder than any defense. "That's my wife!" Someone outside had been filming the whole time. The clip, shaky, grainy, chaotic, hit the internet before sunrise. Within hours, #WendyCaught and #ChrisGate were trending. Fans argued nonstop. Some defended Wendy, calling it a setup. Others sided with Edward, claiming they'd seen signs for months. Memes, TikToks, and conspiracy threads flooded timelines. Even Candace, Chris's wife, posted a cryptic story. "Everyone smiles for the camera until it breaks." Bravo fans devoured it like oxygen. Podcasts dissected the footage frame by frame. One freeze frame showed Wendy's hand on Chris's wrist, just long enough to start a storm. Another captured Edward's expression, eyes wide, voice cracking, fury turning into heartbreak. By the next morning, TMZ had camped outside the Osefo home. Reporters shouted questions through the gate. "Wendy, was it business or personal?" "Edward, do you believe she cheated?" No one answered. Inside, Wendy reportedly spent the entire morning in her office, phone face down, curtains drawn. A friend later told Entertainment Buzz, she wasn't crying, she was just still, like she'd already rehearsed this moment. And that's what made it worse, her calm. Fans noticed it during her first brief appearance after the scandal. Wendy walked into a charity event 2 days later, dressed in black, head high, silent. No statement, no emotion, just presence. But silence, online, doesn't stay pure. It turns into a weapon, sharpened by speculation. A leaked voicemail surfaced allegedly between Wendy and Chris, recorded days before the dinner. Her voice was calm, teasing. "You trust me too much, Chris. You always have." Then laughter. Then the call cut. That single sentence became the heartbeat of every theory online. Talk show hosts debated whether Wendy was manipulative or misunderstood. Pundits dissected Edward's reaction. Was it love, pride, or rage? Meanwhile, Bravo's production team went into crisis mode. Insiders leaked that the upcoming reunion taping had been postponed indefinitely. Too volatile, too personal, too real. For the first time in her public life, Wendy didn't have control over the narrative. Her silence wasn't strategy anymore. It was survival. And Edward's anger wasn't just marital. It was existential. He had built his life, his reputation, his family's image on loyalty and intellect. And now, with one viral clip, it all looked like a lie. By the end of the week, an email leaked from a Bravo producer. "We need to discuss damage control. Wendy's story arc just turned into national news." The Osefo name wasn't trending because of activism or academia anymore. It was trending because America had found its next scandal, a modern betrayal wrapped in camera flashes and whispers. The man once known for quiet dignity had exploded on camera. The woman once praised for composure was being dissected online. And Bassett, the friend who swore it was all business, had gone radio silent. No interviews, no statements, just a single tweet that read, "Not everything filmed deserves a headline." But it was too late. The footage had already become the headline. The image of Edward shouting across that restaurant, veins visible, heartbreak audible, was now a meme, a news thumbnail, a forever stain. And as the noise grew louder, Wendy stayed still, her face calm, her posture perfect. But her eyes? They looked tired. Because behind every perfect image is a moment waiting to shatter. And this one just had. By the time the second dawn broke after the restaurant night, the internet had already divided itself into factions. #Team Wendy, #Team Edward, and a smaller, louder camp labeled #Justice for Candiace. Every podcast, gossip page, and entertainment outlet had found their villain and their victim, but nobody could decide who was who. The footage had been replayed so many times that it became cinematic. The crash of glass, the blurred motion of Wendy's hand reaching out, the trembling reflection of Edward's face in the restaurant window. News anchors described it like a movie scene, using phrases like, "the betrayal nobody saw coming." But those who'd been watching the Bravo universe closely knew that nothing ever happens out of nowhere. Theories flooded Reddit. Some insisted it was a publicity stunt gone wrong. Others claimed there had been tension for months, masked under Bravo's editing. A self-proclaimed insider posted a thread claiming Edward had been monitoring Wendy's phone for weeks and had screenshots of her late-night texts with Bassett. The thread included an alleged image, a partial chat showing Wendy's contact name saved as Professor W. The message beneath read simply, "Chris, I miss our talks. You always understand me. Wendy, maybe too much." Was it real? Nobody knew, but that didn't matter. It felt real. And on the internet, that's enough. The next shock came when an anonymous email landed in the inbox of an entertainment journalist known for breaking Bravo scandals. The subject line read, "Check the footage from Season 8, Episode 14, 23:06 mark." When the journalists checked, they found something chilling. At that exact timestamp, there was a moment so ordinary, most people had overlooked it. Wendy and Chris, sitting beside each other during a group dinner scene, leaned in close while everyone else was arguing. The mics barely caught their conversation. But when slowed down and filtered, a few words could be made out. Wendy, "You really think they'd believe that?" Chris, "Only if we keep it quiet." The Bravo editors had cut away mid-sentence, panning to a shouting match between Karen and Giselle. But now, fans knew what they were really looking for. The internet clipped, slowed, zoomed, analyzed. Suddenly, that innocent moment became the proof everyone needed. Even Edward's friends, who'd been silent, began to speak. One told a gossip blog, "He's been on edge for months. He said something didn't feel right, like everyone else was in on a joke he wasn't laughing at." The betrayal had evolved from rumor to digital evidence. Then, another leak, this time audio. A voice note surfaced allegedly recorded the night before the confrontation. Wendy's voice, steady and slightly tired, saying, "I'm not sneaking around. I'm just trying to find something that feels real again." No one knew who she was talking to, but paired with a faint laugh that sounded like Chris, the narrative wrote itself. Bravo fandom turned into a detective unit. People lined up every clip of Wendy and Chris from the last 2 seasons. The charity event handshake, The after-party confessional, even the group trip scenes. Every smile, every look, every pause was dissected until the chemistry was undeniable. And through it all, Edward stayed silent. He didn't post, didn't appear, didn't even release a statement. His silence became a story of its own. Blogs described it as the calm before the storm, while talk show hosts said he was calculating his next move. One insider claimed he'd been meeting with lawyers. Another said he'd moved out of the family home and into a private apartment in downtown DC. Then, as if on cue, the next piece of evidence surfaced: a hotel booking. A Twitter account named @RealityLeaks247 posted a screenshot of a hotel reservation under the names W. Osefo and C. Bassett, dated a week before the incident. It was for a conference in Atlanta, a trip neither Wendy nor Chris had ever mentioned publicly. Within hours, the screenshot went viral. Fans flooded their pages with accusations. "You lied." Was this the panel event or the secret weekend? Candiace, Chris's wife, finally broke her silence. She posted a single Instagram story that read, "If loyalty has to be proven, it was never real to begin with." Her followers exploded with sympathy, and then suspicion. Did that mean she believed the rumor? Or was it a dig at Bravo editing? Meanwhile, the network panicked. Bravo executives reportedly held an emergency call to decide how to handle the situation. Leaks suggested that lawyers advised both Wendy and Edward to avoid public appearances until further notice. The network released a short statement denying involvement. Bravo does not condone or participate in the personal matters of its cast. The Osefo family is in our thoughts during this difficult time. But fans saw through the diplomacy. Translation: they're saving it for next season, one user wrote. Behind the scenes, things were unraveling fast. A Bravo cameraman anonymously told a podcast, "We've never seen Wendy like this. She's too calm, too quiet. That's when she's dangerous." That comment turned prophetic. Because a week later, Wendy returned to social media, not with a defense, but with a post that reignited everything. A black and white photo of her hand resting on a stack of papers. The caption, "Every story has receipts." The internet exploded. Within hours, a verified gossip blogger claimed to have seen those receipts. Text transcripts between Wendy and Chris that hinted at inappropriate closeness. The blogger described one exchange where Chris allegedly wrote, "You always listen when no one else does." And Wendy replied, "That's because I see you differently." The alleged texts were never verified, but that didn't stop them from going viral. Edward, meanwhile, was reportedly preparing his own counterattack. A source close to him told Reality Radar, "He's tired of being quiet. He's got proof too. And when he drops it, it'll clear his name." Then, out of nowhere, a new video surfaced. Grainy, black and white security footage from the restaurant the same night as the confrontation. But this version had audio. It captured the few seconds before Edward entered. Wendy could be heard saying softly, "Maybe we should stop meeting like this." And Chris, laughing, replied, "You're right. It's too risky." Seconds later, the sound of a door opening, glass breaking, and Edward shouting. The clip spread faster than wildfire. By now, the situation wasn't just gossip. It was an empire crumbling in real time. Candiace stopped following Wendy. Robin and Giselle went live, saying, "We all saw it coming." Karen Huger, the Grand Dame herself, called it the most scandalous betrayal Potomac has ever seen. Every reaction added fuel. Meanwhile, Wendy's silence returned, deliberate, eerie, powerful. She made no public appearances, no statements, no interviews. But fans noticed she was quietly deleting old photos, not of Edward, but of her and Candiace. The narrative flipped again. Was Wendy cleaning house or preparing for war? Then came the twist that nobody saw coming. An anonymous source leaked an internal Bravo email chain suggesting the network had known about Wendy and Chris's friendship long before it became public. Producers allegedly flagged chemistry concerns during editing, but chose to keep footage because it tested well with audiences. If true, It meant the network had capitalized on a scandal it saw brewing. The revelation turned fans against Bravo itself. Hashtags like #BravoExposed and #ProtectWendy trended for days. But even with the internet melting, Wendy refused to speak, until a journalist caught up with her outside a charity event. "Dr. Osefo, do you have anything to say about the allegations?" he asked. Wendy paused, smiled faintly, and said, "People always confuse silence for guilt. But silence is strategy." Then she walked away, leaving cameras spinning. Her calm unnerved everyone, including Edward. Because what if Wendy wasn't hiding? What if she was waiting for the right moment to strike, the right proof to drop, the right person to crumble first? The internet didn't know yet, but it could feel it coming. A storm gathering in plain sight, the calm before another explosion. And somewhere in that silence, another recording waited to surface. One that would rewrite the story yet again. The story had gone quiet. Too quiet. 3 weeks after the last footage leak, the chatter around Wendy and Chris had faded into the static of new gossip. Other scandals filled timelines. Other fights claimed the spotlight. But beneath that lull, the silence surrounding Wendy Osefo had started to feel heavy, like a held breath. Then, one Friday afternoon, something changed. A single push notification from Reality Radar lit up every phone in the Bravo fandom. Exclusive, Wendy Osefo preparing to break her silence. Within an hour, the headline was everywhere. Paparazzi swarmed Potomac, bloggers set up countdown clocks. YouTubers filmed live reactions before anything even aired. For days, people speculated what she would say. Would she confess? Deny? Apologize? No one expected what actually happened. When the clip finally dropped, it wasn't an interview, it was surveillance. A short, grainy video appeared on an anonymous YouTube channel titled "The Truth Speaks." It showed a man, clearly Edward, standing in a dim parking lot, phone pressed to his ear. He was talking fast, angry, desperate. Viewers enhanced the audio. "Edward, she's playing the victim and he's still calling her." Unknown voice. "You sure it's him?" "Edward, it's always him." Then the voice at the other end said something that froze everyone watching. "You think she'll tell them about the money?" The video ended abruptly. The channel vanished 10 minutes later, but it was too late. The internet had captured every frame. Reporters called it the leak that reopened the wound. Suddenly, speculation turned from romance to corruption. What money? Whose money? Fans dissected old episodes, pulling every scene that mentioned donations, business deals, or charity partnerships. And slowly, a new theory took shape, one that linked Chris Bassett's catering company to Edward's foundation projects. According to one viral thread, Wendy had uncovered creative accounting between the two men months ago. That discovery, the thread claimed, had been the real reason Edward snapped. The restaurant fight then wasn't about jealousy, it was about exposure. For once, even Wendy's harshest critics hesitated. What if this wasn't infidelity? What if it was something darker, betrayal mixed with business and pride? 2 nights later, a live stream appeared on Wendy's official page. She sat alone in a minimalist studio, dressed in white, eyes clear but tired. There was no interviewer, no fancy lighting, just her voice, calm and deliberate. "People keep asking why I've been silent," she began. "Because sometimes the loudest truth needs quiet to be heard." The comment section exploded. Tens of thousands watched in real time. She continued, her tone steady. "I loved my husband. I respected him. But respect isn't blind. When I asked questions, they called it nagging. When I found inconsistencies, they called it paranoia. And when I found proof, they called it betrayal." Then she held up a flash drive. "This," she said softly, "is everything they said didn't exist." The feed cut to black. Within minutes, Bravo blogs lost their minds. What was on the drive? Emails, bank records, more videos? Wendy never said. She never uploaded another clip. The mystery was enough to set the internet ablaze again. While fans speculated, Edward resurfaced for the first time since the confrontation. A paparazzi photo caught him outside a law office, looking gaunt, his wedding ring gone. Reporters shouted questions, and though he ignored most, one microphone caught him muttering, "She's destroying everything we built." Across town, Chris Bassett was fighting his own war. Candace had reportedly moved out, her social media wiped clean of his photos. In a brief statement, she told people, "Some mistakes are private, some aren't. I've learned which ones deserve silence." It didn't clarify anything, it only deepened the chaos. Soon after, an alleged email leaked from a Bravo producer suggesting Wendy had turned over supplemental evidence to authorities. The phrase "financial discrepancies" appeared twice. Suddenly, the tabloids stopped treating it like a cheating scandal and started calling it an investigation. But the strangest part? Wendy didn't appear worried. At a women's empowerment conference 2 weeks later, she took the stage as keynote speaker. She looked radiant, smiling gently as the audience cheered. And halfway through her speech, she paused, took a breath, and said, "Every woman reaches a point where she stops asking for explanations. That's when she becomes dangerous." The room erupted in applause. But for those who'd been following the story, the line felt like a message. A warning directed at someone who was still pretending to be in control. Meanwhile, whispers about the flash drive refused to die. One anonymous blogger claimed to have seen part of its contents, encrypted files, labeled CB transactions, and Foundation's Report Q1. If real, they linked both Edward and Chris to unreported income through charity projects Wendy co-managed on television. The theory sounded insane, until a second leak appeared. A short voicemail surfaced, allegedly between Chris and Edward, recorded months before the scandal broke. Chris: "She's asking too many questions." Edward: "Then distract her. You're good at that." The call ended with a low laugh. Two men sounding more like co-conspirators than rivals. No one could prove its authenticity, but the damage was irreversible. Overnight, the narrative flipped completely. The cheating wife had become the whistleblower. Suddenly, hashtags like "apologize to Wendy" and "she knew" trended worldwide. News anchors who'd mocked her now called her a woman vindicated. But vindication doesn't mean peace. That night, Wendy posted a photo of herself outside the courthouse, holding a sealed envelope. The caption read, "Truth delivered." She turned off comments. By morning, an investigative journalist confirmed that she had filed official documentation related to misuse of charitable funds and unauthorized endorsements. The case, they said, could implicate both Edward and Chris. When the reporter reached out to Wendy for comment, she replied through her publicist with 3 words: "Let evidence speak." And then, nothing. No interviews, no social media, no leaks. The silence returned, heavier than before. Weeks passed. Bravo released a teaser for the upcoming season. The trailer opened with dramatic music and a single line from Wendy's confessional. They called it gossip. I called it math. Then flashes of headlines, crying castmates, and finally Edward's voice shouting off camera, "You think I wouldn't find out?" The screen cut to black. The internet lost its mind again. Viewers prepared for another televised storm, but deep down, everyone knew something had shifted. This wasn't entertainment anymore. It was fallout. Months later, when the season finally aired, fans expected fireworks. But instead, they got something haunting. Wendy barely appeared on camera. No fights, no speeches, no closure, just a final confessional scene, 1 minute long. She sat alone, looking directly into the lens. I've learned that silence isn't weakness, it's distance. Distance from the noise, the lies, the spin. When you're too close, you can't see the game being played. But once you step back, every move makes sense. Then she smiled sadly. And trust me, I've seen enough. The episode ended without music, just the sound of her chair scraping softly against the floor as she stood up and walked off screen. That moment trended for days. Some called it poetic, others called it chilling. But everyone agreed on one thing. Wendy Osefo had just rewritten her story. Not with words, but with silence. After the finale aired, the Bravo network released a brief statement confirming ongoing legal proceedings connected to the Osefo Foundation. Neither Edward nor Chris appeared in public again for months. Fans waited for Wendy's next move, but she never returned to the show. Instead, she announced a new documentary in production, Silence as Strategy. The teaser clip featured her voice over black screen. "They wanted a scandal. I gave them a study." And that was it. No more leaks, no more arguments, no more confessions. Just the sound of a woman reclaiming the narrative she never asked for. Because in the end, it wasn't about who cheated, who lied, or who shouted first. It was about who stayed quiet long enough for the truth to echo. And that, finally, was Wendy's power. So now, as the dust finally settles and the headlines fade, one question remains. Was this justice, or survival disguised as grace? Wendy Osefo never screamed, never begged, never broke down for the cameras. She simply let the truth breathe on its own. One leaked clip, one deleted voicemail, one silent stare at a courthouse door. Her calm became her weapon. Her silence became her story. And the world learned that sometimes the most dangerous sound isn't a confession, it's the pause that comes after. Because behind every public scandal lies a private truth, and behind every accusation stands someone quietly holding proof. Did Wendy really expose the men who betrayed her, or did she simply master the game they thought she couldn't play? Maybe the real betrayal was never romantic. It was systemic. Maybe she wasn't fighting Edward or Chris, but the image of what a woman should be when she's hurt. So what do you believe? Was Wendy a strategist or a survivor? A villain rewritten as a visionary? Share your thoughts below. Because sometimes silence says more than truth ever could. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep your eyes open, because this story isn't over yet.